Okay guys, so we're inside of After Effects and I'm going to show you some of the stuff we're going to be having a look at today. It's very basic title sequence animation, but let's have a quick playthrough. So I've used the name Joe Blogs over and over again because I didn't know what other names to use, but there's a few, again they're simple animations, but you know, they're quite interesting at the same time. So as we're doing title sequence design for this module, you know, I'm going to be looking at over different types of animation. So that's the animation we're going to be looking over, and we're also going to be looking at you know, how we modify our text. So I'll show you everything down here and in the character tab as well, and then we'll have a look at adding gradients, you know, stuff like that, and then having a look at what brush strokes does, and having a look at the roughen edges, and you know, seeing how we can modify our text the best. So first of all, we're going to have a look at just, you know, simple fade in and moving across. You know, it doesn't have to be this position down here in the bottom left. It could be up here, it could be in the middle, whatever. Next we'll have a look at, after that we'll have a look at doing, you know, simple animation like this, where just, you know, they go past each other and fade out. Then we'll have them so they're coming apart, and with this one obviously you can use what I teach you to bring two words close together as well. And then last we'll have a look at where they sort of, you know, come into focus like so. So first of all, what we're going to do is I'm going to create a new composition by going composition and new. I'm going to name this titles _1, and I'm just going to make it, it was 21 seconds, so I'll just make it 20 seconds. Not that I need that long, but yeah, so I'll click OK. And now we've got a completely new composition to work with. So, okay, so first thing I need to do is get my text tool up here, and I'm just going to click in and start typing. So I'm going to go for Joe Blogs again, so Joe Blogs. Now, it's come up red, and that's because I was playing around with some settings earlier. So I'm just going to quickly highlight it and turn it to white by just clicking this over here. And I'm going to also, I think I'm just going to go with Arial. You can go through these fonts. If you click in here and start clicking the down or up arrow, you can cycle through all of them. But I'm just for the sake of this, I'm going to stick with Arial. So let's have a look. What's our first animation? Fading in and going left to right or right to left. So first of all, I'm just going to position it down the bottom, and you know, I think this is a little bit big first off, so I'm going to highlight it, and over here where, you know, this is the font size, I'm just going to click and drag down. So that's something kind of what I'm looking for, around 96, yeah. So first off, it fades in and it moves left to right. So the two things we're going to need to animate is the opacity and the position. So let's animate the position first of all. So if we make sure our layer is selected, hit P, and then we can hit the stopwatch icon, and that obviously sets a keyframe right at the very beginning. And if we scroll forward, say to the 5-second mark, so you can see here when on the left by here, when I scroll across, it hits the 5-second mark. And I'm going to click and drag this value down by here where my mouse is, and as soon as I do that, it's going down, and I don't want it to go down, so I'll hit Control Z to undo, and it's this value I want to drag, so I'll drag this one, and you can see when I do, I've now got another keyframe by here. So when we were at the beginning, I set a keyframe by hitting my stopwatch, and then I came forward and just altered the value to this at this point, and already we've got, you know, a decent animation going on by here. However, we want it to also fade in, so I will show you how to do that. You can either hit T on your keyboard, or you can hold Shift and hit T, which is what I'm going to do, because what all that does is it brings up the opacity as well as the position. If I were to just click the layer and hit T, it would give me just opacity, but I want the position, which is P, and the opacity, so Shift T. Right, I'm going to make sure I'm at the beginning. Click, set this to 0 actually, because we want it to not be there and we want it to fade in. So select this value, hit 0 and enter, and make sure you click the stopwatch for the first keyframe you set. So hit the stopwatch, and I'm going to come forward about half a second, which is like 12 to 14 frames. And I'm just going to go click in here and put it at 100. And you can see it's made a keyframe there. So the top keyframes, these two which I'm highlighting right now by here, these two are the position ones, and these bottom ones are the transparency, or it says opacity, but you know, it's the same thing, transparency and opacity. So far it kind of fades in as it's moving, and we want it to fade out before it stops moving, otherwise, you know, it's just weird. So we're going to come to this point, and we want to make another keyframe while it's at 100%, because we wanted to make it 100 here and then 0 by here. So, you know, it goes 0 to 100% opacity, then carries on playing, and then we need a keyframe at 100, and then we need to put it down to 0. So to make sure to make another keyframe, because we've already got our last one here is 100, and all we need to do to make another one is hit this little icon by here, this diamond, and look what happens in our timeline. There you go. Wherever our time indicator is, it puts a keyframe for the current value there, and then we can move forward to this point and click in here and hit 0. So if we scroll through, what we've got so far is moving left to right while fading in, moves left, no, sorry, right, and then fades out. So that is our first title. And what I'm going to do, I'm just gonna, you can use the page up and page down keys, and I'm just going to come to the very end of this animation, which is by here, and you can either click and drag to, you know, here, or if you wanted to, you can do Alt and the square bracket key, and it'll just cut it automatically to there. So we've already got our first little animation. So that's how you do the first part of this little small basic sequence I got. So the next one we're going to look at is this one by here. This is what we're going to have a look at. So I'm going to make a new composition again. New composition, because I'm doing something a bit new. Call it titles 2, and click OK. Okay. Again, to just create my text, I'm just going to click in here very quickly and type Joe. I'm not going to type the full Joe blogs, because if you look at our animation, we've got two animated on the position separately, so we need them separate. So I'm going to do Joe, and then I'm going to type in by here blogs. Okay, so that's kind of what I want. Now obviously we need to fade these in again, because that's what it looked like in the animation. So, but first of all, I'm just going to animate the position. So if I drag and click both of them, or shift click both of them is another way you can do it, and I'm going to hit P, so it'll show me the position properties for both, and I'm happy with their starting position as they are right now, so I'm just going to hit the stopwatch, and they've both got a keyframe. So if I scroll forward, I know it's going to last about 5 seconds, which is here. No, sorry, here. And I'll just come to the end by hitting the page down key. Yeah, so you can see 5 seconds by here. Another way you can do it is if I was over here, you could type 0500, hit enter, and it jumps there. So that's another neat little trick. So I'm going to set the end point for both of these now. So I know that blogs needs to end up sort of by here, and Joe needs to end up sort of by here. So I'm just going to do each one individually. Take blogs up there, and take Joe, not to the right, take Joe down here. So if we play through, that's kind of what we've got going on right now, which is okay. But we want to make sure that we fade in. So again, the same as last time, I'm going to shift click both of them, hit shift and T, and it brings up our opacity. So I'm going to make sure these are both hit to 0 at the beginning, and click the stopwatch, so we've got a keyframe set. I'm going to come forward about 10 frames, so again you can either look by here as you're moving the time indicator, or you can use page up and page down, or if you wanted to, you can just click in. I know that it's 0 seconds and 10 frames that I want to go. Well, actually, I want to go 12. So I'm going to set these now both to 100, so they both fade in at the same rate. And now I'm going to come just to about by here roughly, set another keyframe on the opacity, because we want them to fade out, so they need a keyframe there. and then I'm going to come forward a bit and lower them both to 0. So already we've got this nice little animation, the same one as we've got by here. So that's cool, we're getting somewhere. First of all though, I just want to come to the end, so to the very last keyframe, highlight both of these layers by holding shift and clicking, and then go alt and square end bracket key, and then it'll cut both of the layers by here. So moving on to the next one, which is this one, where two elements separate. So again, you probably kind of have an understanding of what I'm going to do for this one. I'm going to create titles underscore 3. Okay, and again I'm going to get Joe on one layer, and then I'm going to make blogs on another. So if I want to, I can, now that they're on two different lines, I can try and best match them as best I can, but I may not get it. So one thing you can do is hold shift and open up the P position for both of them. Once you've got them as close as possible, you can see that you've got two values here, X and Y. Now Y is the second one, but you can see they're very similar, so whichever two numbers are similar, and if we're talking about up and down, it's going to be these second two numbers. You can see one's 492 and one's 496. They're just pixels, so this one of them is 4 pixels off. So if I go into this top one and hit 496 to match it to the bottom one, watch what happens. They're both going to match and be on the same line. So 496, hit enter, and you can see blogs just drop down just a little bit. So what I want to do for this one, right guys, is set a keyframe, because I'm happy with the start position, and come to about 5 seconds. Oh, bang on. And I want to drag blogs out to the right and Joe to the left. So that's the wrong one. So I need to just drag that out like so, and drag this one to the other side like so. It's best not to go in there and start moving them around like that, because it won't be a straight line. If you just use these values by here, and we've already got a nice little animation. And again, I'm going to do the same as last time and do the opacity. So hit shift and T and set a starting keyframe, making sure it's on 0 first. Yep, so starting keyframe, come forward about 12 frames. I'm using the page down key. And then bring that up to 100 there and 100 there. Come just before the end. Set another keyframe by hitting this and this. And then come to the end and click in there, 0, enter. Click in there, 0, enter. So there we've got very similar kind of, well, very, very similar to, where is it? Here. Yeah, same thing. These go a little bit more apart than these ones, but you can easily modify that, or maybe they don't actually. So let's have a look at our last one that we've got to do. This is the one where it comes into focus like so. Okay, cool. So let's go ahead and create a new composition again. This will be titles underscore 4, and I'm going to keep it to 20 seconds. So for this one, I'm going to get a type tool and type Joe blogs all on one layer. I'm not splitting it up this time. And so we've got that. All I want to do is come to your effects and presets window by here, or if you can't find it by there, you can go to effect and you've got all of them here. Just make sure you select the layer. So if you're using the side, I'm going to, so it's nice and easy, come down to blur and sharpen, and I'm going to click on fast blur and drag it onto, if you drag it and let go here, nothing's going to happen. If you drag and let go on your text, it's going to be applied. And if you wanted to do that through this way, you can go effect, blur and sharpen, and fast blur, just give it a click, making sure that this is selected. Okay, so what I want to do for this one is, let's just have a look. I've got my blurriness up here, and if you can't see this, you've probably got this view at the moment. You need to just make sure you click this bar by here, effect controls, and if you can't see that, make sure you go to window and come down and turn on effect controls, and there you go. So If we move this blurriness, you can see it gets blurrier and blurrier and blurrier. We don't want to go too high. I think there's a good starting point. So again, with the stopwatch, I'm just going to create a keyframe by clicking. So if I click that, you can't see a keyframe down here because you haven't got any properties highlighted. So the way you see the keyframe is if you select the layer and hit U just shows you all keyframes on that layer. So I'm going to come forward to about 5 seconds, and I'm going to, oh no, I want this to sort of come into focus a little earlier, so I'm going to come to like 2.5 seconds or something, just like that. And I'm going to click in here, hit 0 and hit enter, and you can see we've got another keyframe. So this kind of comes into focus. However, we don't want it to start off, just with a massive white patch. We want to fade it in again, like we did with the other times. So I'm going to hold Shift and T, got my opacity, and I'm going to hit this to 0, make a keyframe, come forward about 10, 12 frames, and I'm going to bump that all the way up to 100%. And then we know that at about 5 seconds we want it to end, so we'll come back from 5 seconds about 10 frames or something, 15 frames, and then we'll just make another keyframe and come forward to, again I'm using my page down key, come forward to 5 seconds, and we're going to turn that to 0 so it fades out. So right now we've got this, fades in, comes into focus, and then fades out. So we've done the 4 little exercises for basic animations. However, even if we have a look at my original one by here, it's very boring. It's white text on black background. So I'm going to quickly show you how to make modify the as much as you can with your text. So I'm going to create a new composition again. Last time, text modification, I'll just call it. You don't have to do this, but you don't have to make this composition, but it would be good if you go back into some of your animated ones and start modifying them. So I'm just going to type hello, there you go. So first off, if you come over to your character window, and if you can't see it, go to window, character, make sure it's ticked. First off, if you get your type tool and just select the text. If you click in here and hit the down key, you can scroll through all the different fonts that they have to offer, but I'm going to stick with Arial just for now. You can change the colour by double clicking this box. So if I want to make a nice blue, I can come in, select it. Make sure that you don't just think, oh, I want a yellow, so I'm going to click here. You've also got to move this little guy in here, so just click and there you go. I'm going to go for a yellow. This attribute by here, this is the font size, so just standard font size. This separates each of the letters, so if you wanted to scroll this up, perhaps maybe you want it like that. This action by here is the vertical scale, so it's the scale just in the vertical. So there's, if we wanted it to be really tall for some reason, you can. This again sort of makes it very wide. It's the scale in the horizontal axis. So if you wanted it really, thin or something like that, you can. And then you've got these down the bottom. This turns it to all capitals. This turns it to smaller capitals. So they're still capitals, but the rest of them are smaller. But I'm just going to turn these off. Now, you can carry on playing around with these settings, have a look at what they do and all that stuff. But I'm going to just, if you wanted to reset, just click this little drop down box by here and go reset character. And there you go. It's a lot smaller, but you can just make the size bigger. And let's just go for Arial again. There you go. If you wanted to jump to a font, by the way, what I just did is I clicked in here when it was, let me just get back to Times New Roman, I clicked back here when it was Times New Roman. If you wanted to very quickly change it to Arial without using the arrow keys, if you click in here, so it's highlighted, and start typing Arial, which is A-R-I, it just jumps to it. So that's a nice way. Just make sure it's highlighted while you do so. So I'm going to show you two things now very quickly to modify your text. So first of all, I'm just going to make it a bit bigger. Yeah, just like that. Okay, if you go back into your effects and presets, if you type in And again, if you can't find this, window, effects and presets, make sure it's ticked. If you type in, first of all, we're going to look at roughen edges, okay? Click and drag this out onto your text, and if you still can't find it in here, if you just go to window, make sure this is selected, go to window, no, sorry, effect, stylize, and it's in here, roughen edges. There you go. So first of all, it's giving it a nice sort of, eaten away, decayed look, and you can modify all of these, stuff like that. It's quite cool. You can just play around with all these settings and see what you get, the scale of it, and so you can do that. You can reset it. You can have a look at what other edge types there are. There's rusty. These are all kind of like defaults, and you can just start modifying them. So if you're going for some sort of psychological thriller about somebody who's a bit crazy, you can kind of amplify that through this kind of text. And these are all things which you can keyframes, so you can set it to be normal, set a keyframe there, come forward a few seconds, and it gradually gets eaten away like so. So when you play it through, you can see it kind of gets eaten away over time. That's one thing you can do. I'm just going to hit U and delete these keyframes. Another thing you can do is, if you don't want it all one color, you can use, if you type in ramp by here and drag out onto here the gradient ramp, you can now select two colors. So you've got your start color and your end color. It's just like color 1 and color 2. I'm going to double click in here, select a red, double click in here and select a blue, or let's select a yellow. So it's a bit sunrisey, so I'll click OK. Now you've got start of ramp and end of ramp. If you click this little locator by here, just this little box, and then come out here, you've got this weird thing by here. I'm just going to click right above the text and see it places this little circle there, which you can move around, but I'm just going to leave it by there, and I'm going to do the same for the end of ramp. So I'm going to click here and then click at the bottom for this one. So you can see this is where the yellow color sort of ends, and this is where the red color starts. So you can move it over here, so you have it go in sideways like so. You can also change this linear ramp, because right now it's a line. You can change it to a radial ramp. So what that means is, if you put this in the middle, it's red in the middle, and as it gets out both sides, it gets yellower. So that's something you can do. And let's just have a look at what else I have in here. Yes, brush strokes. So you've got your gradient ramp, you've got your roughen edges. Let's just reset that, and it looks kind of eaten away, nice. The other one was brush strokes. So if you just type it in here, this is another sort of stylizing tool you can use. I'm just gonna click this little FX box, and that turns off the gradient ramp and the roughen edges, and you can minimize these. I'm actually going to keep the gradient ramp on there. Now brush strokes, you can see if I turn it on and off, you can see what it does. It's After Effects attempt at making it look as if it was done with a brush, but it's not very good. But what it is good at is if you come in and start modifying all these, it's nice at giving it a sort of, sometimes it can be used when you've got the right settings. It can be used for sort of horror, sort of scary look. But this is just another kind of thing. Again, you can use it in conjunction with roughen edges. So if we move this one to the bottom and turn it on, let's see how they work together. So let's just load in. It looks okay. So let's turn brush strokes off to see what it does. Yeah, so that gives it that kind of extra edge, and it does move it slightly. So yeah, that's kind of all I was going to go over with you today. So with the titles that you hopefully created, the animated ones, try and chuck some of these effects on there, and just see what you can kind of get. Choose some. If you go in for a horror look, choose some dark colours and some really gritty edges, like in roughen edges, something like spiky. What does that do? But yeah, have a play around. You need to maybe up the border, and ooh, it's a bit weird, isn't it? Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, so cheers for tuning in, and I'll catch you soon.